have a serious problem.
Okay, let's discuss that.
No, I'm gonna tell you what my problem is.
Alrighty.
You are reading a very inappropriate book to your class.
How do you find it inappropriate?
It talks about divorce and death and all these things that shouldn't be dealt with in school. It should be dealt with in church and in the homes, and that's just not your place.
I understand that. The book talks a lot more than just about divorce and death. We read it to all of our 6th grade classrooms, and it talks about racism. It gets real deep into history. Have you ever read the book To Kill a Mockingbird?
No, but from what my child has said to me, it just seems so inappropriate for his grade level. I mean, he's only in 6th grade, and you're telling him about all these things. Like, they're still in elementary school. I just don't know if this is the right time to be bringing that up.
Okay. I do understand where you're coming from. It's a hard topic to discuss with some kids. But our biggest focus really isn't on those topics. So like I said, we talk about the racism. Our biggest concern with sharing this story is getting the students to kind of put themselves in other people's place back in this time in history. And we use this book in particular just because it has so much diversity in the story, and we talk about the death and the divorce a little bit, but that's not what we focus on. Is there something, maybe an idea that you would share that you would like us to do?
I mean, I wouldn't say leave out those parts, but maybe not discuss them so much, because different families have different beliefs in what those things entail, and that book might be setting their belief as something completely different. And so I don't know, maybe not talk about one specific way that those things can happen, or I don't know.
Okay, so you don't want us to talk about divorce and death in depth. I see that. What if we came up with a solution, maybe having a worksheet that goes home with the stuff we're reading in class? That way we have them discuss those topics at home with you guys. That way that you can express your opinions about those topics, and it's not just me expressing that feeling. That way they're not just getting my opinion or somebody in the class's opinion that maybe has dealt with divorce or death or something like that. That way they're getting your full opinion. What do you think about that? Would that be...
I would be more comfortable with that. I mean, I'm not saying completely take it out of the curriculum and just not talk about it at all.
Correct.
But I would send that sheet home with us, and then together as a class maybe discuss what everybody came up with, how their family deals with that.
That way they see not only our perspective, not only the students' perspectives, but other parents' perspectives. I really like that idea. Okay. And then what other concerns did you have about this story?
That was just, I don't know, my main concern. When I came in here, I was just ready to take him out of school, please, and take him to a different school, just because I didn't know the background behind that story. I guess now I know more. So, I guess I was gonna ask you a question. What are some of the other things that are in the book that they're learning during that time?
Okay, so the book takes place back in the South during the time of slavery, stuff like that. So they're learning about how African Americans are being treated at this time. They're learning about kind of the prejudice in the area. So not only are we looking not just at racism, but just the pure history of that time in that area. I mean, we're in Nebraska. We got a little bit of it throughout our history, but not as rich as the South. And I think it's really good to share with those students about the topic, because some of them aren't even exposed to that. So I think it's great for all of the kids to be exposed, even if it's just a little bit here and there. I don't want to expose too much. I know there's other parents like you that feel that it's too much of a topic, but I think it's good to explore those different areas.
So is this being read in history class or in lit class?
It's something we read every day. It's usually part of our morning routine.
Okay.
So when the kids come into the
Do
classroom...
they each have their own individual book, or is it you reading to them?
No, it's me reading to them. So it's usually about 15-20 minutes at the beginning of the day. We discuss a little bit about it, but usually we don't have a whole lot of time to discuss it. So the discussion is throughout the day between them. So that could be where they're coming home
Right.
with their
Gosh,
discussion.
I never thought about that.
Okay, so we'll come up with this idea. I'll have some sheets for them to fill
Okay.
out. That way they can take them home to you guys, and you guys can talk about the topics we're talking about in class. And then they can come back and we'll share that at the beginning, and then read more, and then we'll discuss the next topic, and then they can bring home sheets again. That way everybody's being a part of the
Right.
book.
I like that a lot, just because I don't think I'm the only parent that's like concerned about this.
Correct.
Maybe their kids aren't talking to them as much as mine. Mine's pretty open with me, so it's whatever.
I understand.
But yeah, I think they'd really appreciate it if like they also knew like what's going on in school, because I mean you do a good job of like telling us what's all going on, but different topics, I think that'd be really informative for us.
Okay. So, along those lines of informing the parents about what we're doing in class, would you like me to send like a letter home talking about the new books that we're starting to read?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good
class?
idea, just because like if the parents do have any concerns about that, they can contact you directly, and then you can like say, no, like this is what's gonna happen within the book, and we're not just talking about these bad things, but we're also talking about the good things.
Correct. And that way you guys are finding about the story through me instead of through your students or your children at home, which could be a little bit different perspective.
Right.
So,
and coming from me, like I've never read that book, so I was just confused when he told me like, oh, we're learning about divorce and death, and I'm just like, oh, like what is going on in school?
Correct. Okay. Awesome. So I'll do that. I'll start sending out letters. That way, all of you parents are informed of what book we're reading, what we're talking about, the purpose of talking about that. And then as we read that book, I'll send home little worksheets that they can talk to you guys about. That way they're getting everybody's perspective.
Yeah. I'm sorry about coming.
No, you're fine. I totally understand your concern.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good plan to me. So, will that be like everyday worksheets, or like once a week, or?
I'll try to do it every day. We don't always get to the story every day, but every time we read, I'll send home a worksheet that'll talk about that little part that we read.
That sounds good to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.